Hello, welcome to Ep.1 of Late Night Classical Music Podcast. I'm Jennifer Zhang. Many of the greatest composers have lived short but full lives and left dozens of immortal works that we still enjoy today. And Robert Schumann is no exception. This German composer wrote some of the greatest works of the Romantic era. Now we are playing one of Schumann's most quiet and popular pieces, often translated as Dreaming, from the set of 13 solo piano pieces called Scenes from Childhood. Just as we understand a composer's life by his music, in the same way, we can learn about one's music from the perspective of his life. In Schumann's 46 years of life, there was one woman who had a great influence on his music. The year was 1828. The 18-year-old Schumann was a law student at the University of Leipzig. Instead of focusing on his law studies, he devoted himself to music and started taking piano lessons from Friedrich Wieck. At his master's place, he met Wieck's daughter, the 9-year-old child prodigy, Clara Wieck. Clara had been receiving music instructions from her father from an early age. At age 9, she already made her official debut at the Grand House Concert Hall and toured around Europe starting at age 11. For Schumann, Clara was nothing more than a strange, quiet child with an incredible talent for piano. He was even a little jealous of her talent. He worked tirelessly, determined to become an accomplished pianist. 2 years later, he dropped out of school and resumed his piano studies with Wieck. Regardless of continuous practice, he never became the pianist he hoped to be, due to a numbness in the middle finger of his right hand. Later, he changed his career path and became a composer and critic. As time passed by, Schumann and Clara gradually developed their relationship, and eventually their love bloomed. This apparently infuriated Clara's father, probably because he felt that Schumann, as a penniless musician, could not bring happiness to his daughter. In 1837, when she was 18, Schumann proposed to Clara, and she accepted. Schumann then asked her father for her hand in marriage. Her father was strongly opposed to the marriage and refused his permission. The couple decided to go to court and sue him. The judge allowed the marriage, which took place on September 12, 1840, the day before Clara's 21st birthday. The first few years through their marriage, they traveled all over Europe and studied Baroque music and literature. People often ask Schumann, "Where did all your music inspiration come from?" He smiled and responded, "Clara often refused to see me or totally ignored me in exchange for my works." This is probably what the marriage of two musicians looks like. From 1832 to 1839, Schumann wrote almost exclusively for piano. But in 1840 alone, he wrote at least 138 songs. Indeed, 1840 is highly significant in Schumann's musical legacy and also the peak of his entire life. However, happy time always goes fast. The couple moved to Dresden, Germany, 4 years after, due to the worsening of Schumann's depression and mental breakdown, which were widely believed inherited from his family. Although Schumann was appointed musical director at Dusseldorf in 1850, he was no longer mentally fit for the position. In the early spring of 1854, he tried to commit suicide by jumping off a bridge into the Rhine River. Luckily, he was rescued from drowning and was sent to a private psychiatric institution. He stayed there for the last 2 years of his life. On July 27, 1856, Clara Schumann visited the hospital in Andernach, where she met her husband after nearly 2 years in isolation. She wrote in her diary, "He recognized me. He smiled at me and put his weak arm around my neck and whispered my name." This was the last time they met. 2 days later, Schumann died at the age of 46. People later described Schumann's piano works as having deeply personalized poetic expression and melody. His romantic spirit was mostly influenced by Clara and his family. A few years before marriage, Schumann, who was then madly in love, wrote to Clara, "I remember once you said to me, 'I'm sometimes quite a child before you.' Whether it was that or not, I just had an inspiration and wrote some funny sketches off the cuff. Among them, there was a song, 'Dreaming.' To be precise, the song is a love letter from Robert Schumann to his lover Clara. Now, let's hear the full version of it, and have a good night."